we're going to be cleaning the data from an online registration that came very messy, and would see what are the steps that we are supposed to take in data cleaning for a project like this. And I was trying to reiterate, just like how we mentioned in our former class, that, or in our former sessions, that the first thing you ought to do is to ensure that you understand every variable, you understand every data point that's there. So for instance, we have our ID column, which would indicate the registration number, something like that. The date time of registration, we have the name of each registration, and then metadata. So on the back end, the information that we have collected include their age, if a certain code was entered, email, phone, the course registered, gender, address, and then name here again. Okay, so we want to see how to clean a data like this, and how we can be able to, do it with Microsoft Excel basically. Okay, so first things first, create a duplicate copy of your sheet. We know that you don't want to tamper with your original data, so I want to move this to the end. Okay, so I have a duplicate copy of my sheet, which is exactly what I'm going to work with. Now, for the sake of understanding the data, I may want to sort my data. Let me have the registration in hierarchical order. So if I add my filters, which is Ctrl Shift L, okay, I can sort based on my ID from smallest to largest. So I just need that. Now, if you're keen to notice, you could see that there are certain registrations that are similar, right? There are certain registrations that are similar, which shows us the presence of duplicate values. So we are having duplicate values in our data set, and that's one error that we may have to deal with. And then we have this lumped up metadata here that we also have to do something about. Okay, so basically those are the first errors that are staring at us in our face, and you would want to document everything you do in this process. All right, so let's continue. So I do not necessarily have a problem with the date time, but just in case you want to separate it by creating extra columns. So if I'm inserting a column for date, so I want to do a separate column for date, I can take the date value, which is this. So okay, I'm losing that information. Let me expand this. So 20th of November 2023, November 20th. Okay, so if I use my flash fill, so with my flash fill, it goes down to extract information from every variable, from every data point. Okay, so we could see that we've collected the date values, which we are fine with, and maybe I want to also collect the time of registration. It should be above. So I want to collect time registered and time registered. So I want to maintain the same format since everything has been in small level. Right. So the time format, I'm taking 1637. So I'm still leaving it in 24-hour format, and then Ctrl E flash fill. So let me explain what this error is. Please double check the flash fill results. We encountered some input cells with values longer than 255 characters, and we had to skip them. This error is actually saying that in some of the data points, in some of the rows that it's going through, it's seeing some cells that have over 255 characters, and if it's dealing with those cells, it will have to skip those particular values. That's all that means. Okay, so since we are not getting values from those characters, we can skip. So you can see the time, is correct based on what we want. So let's say I don't really want this column anymore. So yeah, shift cells left. I didn't do that well. Okay. I don't delete. Okay. Yeah. So we have names that are duplicates and all that, but before we get to that, we want to separate this metadata into their individual columns. So permit me, guys, I'm going to shrink a bit. I'm going to zoom out a bit so I can do something here, because if I split this column, it's going to overlap some of these other variables here, which I don't want to lose them. So what I want to do is I want to move these two variables and place them before metadata. Okay, so how I'm doing that is I'm highlighting the both columns, and with my fill handle, remember our fill handle, guys, this cursor that looks like a crosshair, I'm going to right click, not my normal click, right click and drag it to the position of metadata. The moment I let go, it's going to ask me, do I want to move here, copy here, move here as values. Basically what I want to do is I want to shift metadata to the right and move it here. All right, so that's why I'm going to select that, and it does that for me. So you can see metadata has now come to column G. Are we good? So we can proceed to split metadata. So this was actually a real life information. So if you are looking for a simple project you can do, you can reach out to me and I would share the data. It's already encrypted, so it's nobody's personal information anymore. I may have to just remove one or two things, and that's that. So here in this metadata column, I want to split it into different variables. So of course I'm going to my data tab, to my text to columns, right? Text to column is the feature you use to split a particular column to multiple variables or a column, right? So if I do that, and I'm selecting delimited because we have delimited kind of data, right? It's a common delimiter. Now I had already selected something before, so for the delimited I am going to select a delimiter, which is what is the common item that separates each variable that I want to separate. So you can see that at every comma I could separate them. However, if when we go to something like address, you could see everywhere there was an address, there was a comma in address, it's also separating, which is not what I really want. Okay, because I want the information from addresses to still be the way they were. So I am seeing that you can see that there is also colon after each variable. So I want to use this full colon, so you can simply enter it if it's not there, to also separate. So now I have everywhere there is a comma and a colon, it's going to separate. So you can see all my variables are looking more organized. Okay, and aside from that, you could also see, if I uncheck my author here, you could see my quoted texts are still in quotes, which means that I have not really giving enough information for it to do the perfect work that I would need. Okay, but the moment I select that, all the text that are in quotes have now been separated into their individual columns. If I go next, I can now simply choose which variables to skip. So I don't want this variable just containing age all through, so I can skip it. Code, I can skip it. Email, I could skip it. Phone, I could skip it. Course, I could skip it. Gender, I could skip it. Address, I could skip it. Full name, I could skip it. And then this. Okay, so if I select finish, it will basically separate that for me. Okay, so let me just, all right, so I now have everything separated. So I have my age group, so let me quickly correct that. So this is age group. Now this was supposed to be for code, but there's absolutely nothing there, so I'm totally deleting that variable. All right, while this is email. Okay, so every information here has now been randomly generated, so it's no longer the original. I only took the schema to work with us. So this is email, this is phone, randomly generated numbers, this is course offered, this is gender, and this is address, and this is also phone. Okay, so I have my variables. Let me just shape them properly. Okay. Okay, I didn't want that to be that. All right. So I said I don't want the code column. Okay, this is not the one I deleted, right? Now for age group, you could see an issue. If I use my filter menu, you can see now these are things we are correcting: inconsistent values, where you have values as 1, 2, 3, but you can clearly see that these values are supposed to be giving us information about age groups. Okay, so actually, because I know the source of this data, 1 was supposed to be 18 to 25, 2 26 to 30, and 3 31 to 35. So now we have to replace these erroneous values. Okay, so we have 3 groups: 18 to 25, 26 to 30, and 31 to 35. So I'm going to do this in one way, and if you come to course here, you can see that we have a similar value. When I get there, I'm also going to show us another way to do it. All right, so what we want to do is I've highlighted this particular column that has this issue, and then I'm going to hold Control H on my keyboard, Control H to open my find and replace window. Okay, so I want to tell it find 1. Okay, so guys, please be careful at this point. I'm going to make an intentional error so we can understand something. I'm telling it find 1 and replace 1 with 18 to 25, which is what we wanted. Yeah, now let me replace 1. Okay, so let's find all, so we can see all of them. We can see all of them that had that 1. But okay, so there may be no need for me to make the error. Let me just show us here at once. If we go down, you could see even where we had 31, it's still finding that 1 in 31. So if I had gone ahead to replace all of them, it would have replaced every 1 in that particular column. Do you understand? So even in 31, it would have replaced this 1 with 18 to 25. So what we have to do is make sure we have selected match entire cell contents. Okay, make sure you've selected match entire cell contents. Make sure you selected that. So let's find them all again. Now this time around, you can only see the ones, and I can now replace all. So it made 161 replacements. Wow. Now let me be certain that I have not done that. Okay, so you see we don't have that issue anymore. All right, do you understand what I was trying to do? So for 2, we want to do for 26 to 30. But guys, make sure you highlighted that column. Make sure you have highlighted that column. Otherwise, it will spill over to the entire table. Okay, so we are doing for 26 to 30. Match entire cell contents. And we want to be on the safe side. We want to find all and then replace all. Okay, 108 replacement. Remember, as part of your reporting of your process, you should be recording every step you took. So I replaced 108 values that had 2 in age group with the proper group, which was 26 to 30. Should be recorded because it's not your data. Right? It belongs to your organization or whatever. You're working for someone. Even if it's for yourself, you may want to be able to trace back what you did sometime later. Okay. So the next one was for 31 to 35. So we're replacing 3 with 31 to 35. I want to find all in that column and replace all. Okay, so 93 of them. So now for this particular variable, we have them sorted out. Okay. So we look at our email columns, and okay, there are some where we have quite some issues, but okay, so basically I'm just seeing some issues. Maybe it was while we were encrypting, and let me just show us, we can do something to them. Maybe I want all of them to actually be at gmail.com. Okay, I want all of them to be at gmail.com, and some of them are not so. So I'm going to create a variable, a column, and I'm going to simply take a sample of what we have here. So let me just do that quickly. Select this, with my field handle, right click and drag here to copy. But I'm telling it simply stop anywhere you have at. Of course, it will give me that same error. Okay, it didn't give me the 255 blah 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 usually complains because we separated them. So, but you can see what we've done here using the flash fill. So we did Control E. Let me show us again. After inputting the first example, all I did was Control E. Okay, so it went through that variable and stopped everywhere there was an at. Am I making sense to us, guys? Okay, so let's see if this will work. If I do that, if I tamper with this here now, as it is, it's going to try to do the same thing to every variable, which I don't really want. That's not what I want. Okay, so first of all, let me copy these guys and paste them here. So once again, with my field handle, right click and drag here, and I'm going to copy here as values only. So remember, you're only doing this, guys. You are only doing this if you are sure that everything is supposed to be the same email point, like at gmail.com. Okay, so if I'm copying that here, and this time around I'm giving it a sample gmail.com, and then with my flash fill, Control E, and it didn't really get it for the first, after the first one, so let me correct that. .com, and it does it for the rest. Okay, it does it for the rest. So you can now see that all of them are at gmail.com. all right, so I can simply copy them all, right click and drag here to replace, copy here as values only, and I don't want this anymore. All right, so coming to our phone number variable, we can see that there are some that are not looking like phone numbers. Remember, these numbers are randomly generated. They are absolutely randomly generated. So this is not an error that you can do anything about. You just best have to inform your stakeholder or the source of your data to reach back to these persons and give you the proper information. But let's go down the column. We can see certain other variables that look erroneous. Okay, first of all, we can see that there are some values that are maybe with country code 223 or 224, and some had plus, some had the plus sign before it, some have spaces, and this person we generated two. So we have several random. These ones we are not complete. We have several issues we will be dealing with in this data. Now you must be careful in variables like this where you have different kind of same error but different values you'll be dealing with in terms of the error. So yeah, this one is a bit different. I'm going to be dealing with the number of characters, but here now I'll be dealing with spaces as a character, and I'll be dealing with dash as a character. I would probably want to remove that. So you need to be careful when you're dealing with this. If you take it in the wrong order, you're going to end up losing more data than you're supposed to. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I want to remove these spaces. Then I'm going to remove the dashes. So that's a more proper order. When I remove the spaces and I remove the dashes, I can now go on to remove based on number of characters. Now, what that will mean is that for a double input like this, I may just have to select one because I can't keep both. This will not exist as a number. It will only exist as a text. Okay, so I'm quickly going to do that using the substitute function, but of course you could still use your your find and replace window. Okay, well, let me just do what I do. I'm looking for I want to substitute in this everywhere I have a space and replace it with nothing, and if I check, you could see at the bottom that we no longer have those spaces issues. Okay, I also want to, now from this result that I have, I also want to remove the dashes out of this result, because if I check here, I guess that guy for dash is still somewhere here. Yeah, so I want to eliminate the dash from it. Now this is still a formula, so I can't go to that cell alone and deal with that, because that's another way. All right, but since it's still a formula, I would have had to have pasted as values before I can do that. But let me just do this. So I'm going to substitute this result. I'm going to substitute in this result again and say, I'm not done, and say substitute in what I substituted here. And this time I'm looking for dash, and please replace dash with nothing. Okay, so I now have a substitute result that I substituted, and I would apply this for the rest of my table, and you could see that that dash issue was no longer there. Okay, it's no longer there, it's gone. Now finally I'm going to use the left or right. This left, this right. I'm going to use the right function. So just what I mean is I'm going to count from the end of the text using the right function to extract 10 values, which usually is the local number of phone numbers based on my region. Okay, so I'm going to say, so I'm going to use the formula over this formula that is here, and that's the right formula. I'm going to say, out of this result that I have here, extract 10 characters from the right. Extract 10 characters from the right. So this guy is okay. So the 0 is gone. It gives me my 10 characters. And if I double click, so watch this man that was here. He has now removed 10 characters from here. So the extra 2 at the beginning is no longer there. If we use our filter menu, you can now see that no character is above 10 anymore. For those that are less than 10, there's nothing you can do but to reach back to your source and let them know that this information are incomplete. Now, final thing before we leave our number column is that this particular column is now seeing every variable as a text. So if you want Excel to see it as a number at the end of your formula, because the right function, the substitute functions that we use are all text formulas, text functions. If you go to your formulas tab, you find them in your text tab. you find them in your text section. So you see substitute, you see write. So whatever you use them on will become a text. Okay, so I'm going to do +0 to make sure that it's a value, a numeric value. So you see it now aligned to the right of my cell. And if I do that for the rest of them, it does that, and then I can right click and paste here, and copy in here as values only, and this I can now clear this. I don't want this anymore. Okay, I hope we're good. All right, we still have a lot to do. Wow. Now I have the same issue we had here, which was we had numbers. Okay, so you see those things that I did. See how they affected them here. Oh wow, that's not nice. All right, so that's why I said you utterly have to be careful. Right, I thought I highlighted them, but I guess it went outside the highlight. But here's a good thing: we know that this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. Okay, this is 1, 2, and 3. So let me quickly correct that. To 3, 31 to 35 should be 3. Okay, replace all. While what was the other group? 18 to 25 should be 1. 18 to 25 should be 1. And then finally 26 to 30 should be 2. Alright, so as much as there are several ways to do several things, if you're in an interview or you're in a pressure test, you would need to learn, or you need to use the one that you're most comfortable with and the one that is quickest to you. Okay, so what I want to use here, I can use the if function, but sometimes I like to use the switch function because it gives me certain preference that I would want. So here's how the switch function works. So I'm saying equal to switch. I'm trying to be a bit fast so I can have everything in about an hour. So the switch function, the first thing it's going to ask you is, what is the expression? What do you want to do for? What is going to be somewhat like our condition? Okay, so I'm saying I want to check when the following expressions are true. Okay, I want to check when the following expressions I'm going to give are true. What's the expression? So please check when k2 is equal to 1. If this is true, then tell me, okay, so I did check something. Let me be sure. So number 1 was for cybersecurity, followed by data analysis, graphics design, product design, and then web development front end. Okay, so let's go back. Switch, I was saying check when the following statements are true. First, if this is equal to 1, then tell me cyber security. Okay, otherwise check if k2 again, if it's equal to 2 this time, and tell me if it's 2, tell me data analysis. Okay, in quotes. Next up, check again if k2 is equal to 3. If it is 3, tell me graphics design. Okay, next up, check if k2 is equal to 4. So it's going to check through and check when, in which of these situations is this condition true, and only in that one where the condition is true, that's when it will not give you whatever result it told it to do. Okay, so when k2 is equal to 5, it should tell us web development, and let's say front end. Good. Now the reason why I like the switch function is I can put an otherwise value. All right, I can say if any of this is not true, the default answer should be whatever was in k2. So I'm telling it Let me open my, yeah. So I'm telling it switch when this is true, when any of this is true. If K2 is equal to 1, it should be cybersecurity. If it's equal to 2, it should be data analysis. 3, graphics design. 4, product design. 5, web development. Otherwise, keep K2 the way it was because there were values that were there before. You get? So if I do this now and I double, so it just does that quickly. So whichever is more comfortable for you to use, all right. So if the find and replace window is more comfortable to you, go ahead with that. If this is what you're more comfortable with, go ahead. If you're on a pressure test, your greatest strength is not speed alone but comfort. Okay, it's not the time you want to try out something new. It may not really work out very well for you. So I can now have my course here, and there will be no need. Oh no, yeah, if I delete these values here now, everything goes off here. So I have to copy this and paste as values. Control Alternate V to bring out your paste special window. V to select values, and I've pasted as values. So now I can delete this. So gender, blah blah blah. So I also have full name. Let's see, gender. So someone had select gender here. So now you should not assume when you don't have variables that give you that information to just change this. So you may have to reach back to your source and let them know that this is what you experienced. Now otherwise, I'm just going to leave that and put that in my report. Now I'm not bothered about full name because I already have that information here. So let me just delete the full name and let's continue with what we have. Fine. So pretty much I've done the difficult parts. But there's something else we noticed while we were looking at our data, which was the presence of duplicate values. So you can see this name repeating several times, and duplicate values are one of the kinds of errors that are bad for us. Now, is it possible for multiple persons to bear the same name? Absolutely. Absolutely, it is okay. But of course, I've explained the concept of primary key variables and primary keys before. That a primary key is a unique identifier for a data point. Okay, so simply put, a primary key identifier or a primary key is that value that makes one response completely unique from another response. What do I mean? No two persons have the same social security number. So if I'm having information about persons within a nation, the social security number is a primary key identifier because it identifies one person uniquely from the other. For instance, I've explained to us the DNA of each person is like a unique identifier of each person. Okay? So in this context, email should be a unique identifier of each respondent here. So as phone contact, you're not expecting two persons to have the same phone contact. So we are looking out for variables we could use to check for duplicates. Alright? Now we're going to use conditional formatting. So let me zoom in a bit. Okay. We're going to use conditional formatting to this format painter. Yeah, I saw something I thought I did. We're going to use conditional formatting to paint our cells so we can easily identify those that are duplicates. Okay, so if I highlight my mail column and I go to my home tab, go to conditional formatting. So please guys, if you've not dropped a like, I would appreciate if you do that. If you're still with us, share, drop a comment, tell us if you learned something new, and just in case you know someone that will be interested in learning the tech skill, you can visit school.harbox.com and see the different packages we have. on physical trainings within River State, Nigeria, or you could also make an application for an online course if you want to. So I want to highlight for duplicate values. So you can see easily it's pointing out values that are duplicates. Okay. Let me also do the same thing for phone number. Go to my home tab and I'm formatting based on duplicate values. So you can see them as well. Alright. Just to be cool, I want to also do that for name alone because you're a detective. Yeah, so you want to detective. Okay, so I've added conditional format to help me easily detect values that are duplicates, and you can see that we have them quite a number, and you don't want duplicate values in your responses. Okay, so I am going to sort my data. So I have those ones that were flagged by my conditional format at the top, so it will be easier to pick out. Yeah. Let me see if I can still zoom this in a bit. Okay. I guess that's too much. Let me stay at 25. Okay. So I'm going to my data tab. I'm going to my sort menu. And I'm going to be sorting based on email first. And I want to sort it based on the cell color, and I want the pink ones to be up first on top. Okay, then after sorting by email, still sort by email again, this time around based on the values. So I would have in an ascending order each of the email, so I don't have this email being very far from its duplicate. Okay, I also want to add a level for phone, still for color first. So I want our colors to be on top first, and then I'm also telling it that still based on phone, sort from smallest to largest, and then finally I can add a level for name to be sorted from smallest to largest. So if I sort this, I now have, so you can see so many duplicates. Now here's the tricky thing. This is the reason why you do data cleaning. So you can see this name was different from these ones. So if you were only to fly on name alone, you would not have been able to pick this duplicate. Okay, so that's why we do that. Now be sure that you are careful enough when you're doing these things, because you don't want to make some kind of a mistake. All right, let me also just okay, there's no need, I'll do that subsequently. Now I'm now seeing my duplicates, and as a matter of fact, you can see some where you have numbers are different, probably a typo error. So you can see that we're having issues. Some names are even looking, this one has white space before the name, so they are looking different. So for the sake of time, let me just do something quickly. So I want to trim that. I want to remove white spaces from this text. Okay, so I want to trim that, to remove white spaces. The white space is a space before a text, after a text, or double spaces in between, and those are not really good. Okay, those are not really good. Now after trimming, I also want it to be in proper case, which is capitalize each word, and this looks better. Okay, so I would right click just like we've been doing and bring it here to copy as values. Okay, so I can delete this. Okay, so you can see there was one, I think it was this one, where white space made them different, but now they are the same. All right. So you can see, okay, this one, this and this, you're looking different and so on, but it's just first name before last name. What we're going to do is we're going to go to our data tab because we want to remove duplicates. We're going to go to our data tab, and now watch how I'm going to do this step by step. Okay, so I'm not just going to do them all at once. Since I have multiple values that can be primary key identifiers, which is my name and my email and my phone number, I'm going to use both of them as the criteria first for removing the duplicate values. Are we good? Okay, so there are other things I could have done with this data in terms of preventing those that had codes from being removed. I could have also made sure that the way it is removed is the first before the last, as in the first registration before the other registration, or the last registration instead of all the others. Okay, so those are things you can do. All right, but we're not doing that. We're not doing that. All right. Should I? I'm just trying to make this in less than 1 hour. So maybe in subsequent videos we can do that. So I don't want my data has headers, but I'm not selecting everything. I'm only insistent on the ones that have both email and phone number the same. That's just what I want to first use to remove duplicates. I have both email and phone numbers the same. Okay, you can even see this one has duplicate for the ID. That's quite bad. So if I select OK, so it removes 756 duplicates based on that particular condition. But I said be careful to make sure you are recording anything you're removing from your data set. Are we good? Okay. Now I can now remove for email alone. I can now remove for email alone. I go to my data tab, go to my text. So before I'm doing this, I'm certain that I can go on to remove for email. So just be certain, right? I'm only just trying to work with time here. So now I no longer have duplicates in my email variable. All right. I also want to do the same thing for my phone. Oh, sorry. I also want to do the same thing for my phone. Sorry, my mind is somewhere else. What am I doing? Text again. Okay. And select phone alone. Okay. So it removed 22 duplicate values from phone. Now that means we're good, but you may still have to just check between the names. Okay, among the name. So let's see, we still have, because I'm still seeing this option for cell color here, means that there are still some that we have to deal with in this particular variable. So if I sort them out, you can see all these ones. Now there are some that you may not be clear to detect based on what you have on ground, if they are duplicates or not. Okay, so like I said, you may have to reach back to your source and let them know that, oh, this is what it is. Let me still sort this in a proper way. So sort by color and then still sort by values. Okay, so you can see the ones that are similar. So if you want to investigate, you can see that this looks as though the emails are completely different. But here's something that may give someone up: if you have the registration dates and time so close. So, well, the time is close, but remember these were on different days, so you can't jump into conclusion. Let's look for one that looks a bit sus. So they're mostly different, yeah. They're mostly different. All right. So, yeah, you may still be able to find out if there's emails are too similar and all that, but that's not what we're here to do. Okay. So, in this particular work, we've been able to learn how to So we've been able to split our column, deal with different data type errors, remove duplicate values from our data, and we have pretty much a presentable data that we can return back to our source to say this and this and this was what we did, and this and this and this is what we recommend you do next time when you're collecting data. For instance, you may want to let them know about the errors in the variables for age group and gender. You may want to also make sure they put some kind of constraints, right, in the emails to make sure we don't have those kind of errors. The phone numbers as well. So most of the errors encountered are things that can be avoided if you use the right data constraints, okay, when collecting the data. All right, so I hope we've learned something today. We've learned a lot, and we'll build up from this place in subsequent videos. We still do some more examples, more projects, and I'm sure we're having and we're learning a lot as we are going on through our course. Okay, so um, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say a very big thank you for joining us today. I think I finished in less than an hour. Yeah, I did. I finished in less than an hour. And I'll see you on our next video, our next session, and we'll be doing something in the corners of Power Query and pivot tables to handle full projects. And so you can have something you can boast of in your portfolio or in your experience while working. Okay.